Welcome everyone. Today's topic is new ways and sources of real estate funding. So let's get started, and we're going to give a real life example for funding. So the new source is that we're going to be helping you with our line of credit to do rentals and flips. Let's start with rentals, and then we're going to talk about flips. Flips is just easier than helping you with the funding for rentals. So the reason why we want to help you guys get funding for the deals is because we realized that unless you have experience, it's really difficult to get funding, even from hard money lenders. They want to see experience under your belt, 3, 5, and more deals. Okay, so if you don't have that, they're asking for 20, 25% down, not the best terms overall. So now we're going to leverage from our experience for you to tap it into those line of credits that we have. So let's start with a real example. So the first one, in fact, that we're going to do live is Vipulsi. So Vipulsi is on the line, and he is pursuing a rental in Dalton. So Vipulsi, can you please give us the numbers for the purchase, the rehab, and the ARV on this property?
Oh yeah, so the purchase on this property is 110. I'm buying it from Brazil.
Okay.
And the ARV is 190.
190.
Yes.
And the
And
rehab?
rehab is 20,000.
20K. Okay. So now the question is, how are we going to pursue the funding? We're going to use our line of credit through Kiavi. So this is how it's going to work. Why are we going to use the line of credit on the bridge? We're going to use the fix and flip loan, even though this is going to be a rental. The reason why is because we can move fairly fast. Some of these off-market deals, like in this case, this wholesale deal from Russell, need to close pretty fast, right? So within the next 3 to 4 weeks. If we were to use a long-term rental commercial loan, it would pretty much close in about 45 days because you have delays on the appraisal and the title commitment. Okay, so now we're going to remove the appraisal delay. We still need to get title on it, but now we're going to shrink the closing to 3 weeks, okay, by not having that delay on the appraisal, because for a commercial long-term rental loan, they need to have a physical appraiser go inside the property, whereas for the fix and flip loan, they can do a remote, virtual, or desktop appraisal. Okay, so they don't actually need to go inside the property. Having said that, the objective is to get the loan for the purchase and also rehab. Is the property currently occupied?
Oh yes, it is occupied.
What's the tenant's plan? Are they planning to stay or move out?
Oh, they want to move out. I got a contact information from Brazil, so I
Okay.
just have to initiate the communication. So Russell told me like we are month to month, so we can give a notice of vacant after we close.
Okay.
I just want to give them a heads up, so they have additional days to prepare.
Perfect. That's awesome. Okay, so now let's go into the step-by-step details on how the funding is going to work for a rental. We're going to buy the property under our entity. That's the one that is being vetted, the one that has the experience. So the property will be purchased under deal makers entity, okay? And then we're going to need to put 10% down, and they will finance 100% of the rehab. So in this case, 10% of 110 is about 11,000, right? 11,000 that needs to be put down as the down payment for the property, and they will finance 20,000 from it. Okay. So what we're going to require from Vipulsi in this case, 50% of the total loan amount. So the total loan amount is going to be 90% of 110,000, which turns out to be about let me give you the exact number, $99,000. So 100,000 is going to be the loan, and then for the purchase, plus 20 for the rehab, 100% for the rehab. So the total loan amount is 120,000. Okay, so the loan that we're gonna get for Vipulsi will be $120,000. So now we're gonna require Vipulsi to come up with 15% of 120,000, which is 18,000. Okay, 18,000 in reserves, which is, I would say, half, at least half of what he would be required if he wanted to pursue the purchase himself because of the experience, right? That we were talking about at the beginning. That makes a big difference. So now Vipulsi is going to come up with, let's say, 20,000, just to round up the numbers. Okay. Once we buy the property, now we need to, in this case, Vipulsi is going to let the tenant know, let's say, to move out, to relocate, so that he can rehab the property and then probably rent it out again for a higher price. Okay. Now he's got the option, right? He can keep the existing tenant and perhaps be able to do some upgrades while the tenant is in the property, which might be at times challenging, but not impossible. We've done that in the past. Okay, so that he doesn't have a vacancy, but everything is going to depend on whether the existing tenant is willing to pay a higher rent. How much is the rent today, Vipulsi, on this property?
So 1,300.
1,300 per month. This is 3 bedroom, or how many bedrooms?
3 bedroom, 1.5 bath.
Okay, so the market rent for this property should be at least 1,735 per month. Okay, so Vipulsi has an option. He can tell the tenant, I'm going to do some upgrades on the property, but the rent is going to go up from 1,300 to 1,735. Is this a Section 8 or a regular tenant?
Uh, don't have much idea, but I think maybe a regular
Okay,
tenant.
regular tenant. So they're going to have the option to say, yes, I'm willing to pay more for rent if, let's say, paint the house, perhaps do some new flooring, do some upgrades, right, or repairs. So that's one
Yeah,
option.
and when I was there to see the property, the previous landlord tried to increase the rent to 1,500. I think they just had a communication last month, and they
Yeah,
declined because the house doesn't have the central AC, and it doesn't have the in-house laundry and laundry and washer dryer. So that was the reason that the tenant gave me. But I did not get a chance to ask them a counter question like, hey, what if I give you that services? Like I can install the central heating and cooling because, no, the cooling because they already have the duct work. So just need to install the condenser and I can install the washer and dryer. So I have to call and I'll tell them that, hey, I can give you this uh, option. What do you think?
that's amazing. That's an amazing idea. For the condenser, you're going to spend 2,500. And then to do the in-laundry unit, I mean, for the equipment, for the stackable washer and dryer, you're going to spend probably 1,600 plus the installation, let's say 2,000 plus 2,500. You're going to spend 4,500. 4,500 tops 5,000, right? But it's a good investment because you're adding value to the property. I mean, having central air is awesome, right? Because right now they may have window units, and it's never the same. So it's going to be a great upgrade for the property value-wise, plus the tenants are going to be super happy. So it's a no-brainer to invest 5,000 because we're getting 20,000, right, from the rehab. Put in 5,000 or put up to 10,000, maybe do something that they feel comfortable with, that they like, they want, and increase the rent from 1,300 to 1735. And that's very much doable in today's rental market, being so strong. In fact, we did it maybe 3 months ago in property in Dalton. They were paying 1,400 and we increased that to 1735. So they were Section 8 and, their voucher allowed that, and they ended up paying more. But we did some upgrades. We spent probably close to 10,000 in the property. However, we still haven't gotten paid from Section 8. I mean, there's so much bureaucracy, and I believe they pay every quarter. So we still haven't gotten paid, by the way. But anyways, it's totally doable to increase the rent by 435. No problem if you perform those upgrades. So now let's go back to the funding, right? So we're going to buy the property under our entity. Once we close, let's say Vipulsi is going to do the work with the tenants in there. Then short after the rehab is done, then we're going to start the refinance process. Okay, now the refinance, the objective is to uh, have Vipulsi on the property 100%. Now, in order for us to make it happen, either Vipulsi is going to have his existing entity take over, or he can create a new one. It's going to be up to Vipulsi. The only condition that we're going to need for us to do the refinance and potentially a cash out refinance is for us to have at least 25% ownership in Vipulsi's entity. So we can do an amendment to his operating agreement for us to have that ownership percentage. So the refinance goes through okay. But once the refinance is completed, then we can put everything back the way it was, right? 100% ownership for Vipulsi. So that's how we're gonna be able to do a refinance and transfer ownership from our entity to anybody's entity. Okay, so we do a refinance onto your entity. Again, we're going to need to amend your operating agreement for us to have at least 25% ownership while the refinance takes place. So that's how we are going to do it. Now, how much will Vipulsi pay? This is going to be the first time we pursue these, so we're going to charge 3% of the total loan amount. So 3% of 120,000 is going to be $3,600. Okay, for us to sort of be the co-signer, put our experience into the deal, because we want to make sure that the numbers still make sense, right, for Vipulsi, and we move through the process smoothly. Okay. So that's how we're going to help you guys do rentals, use our funding. Again, all you're going to need to do is bring the reserves for the down payment and the upcoming interest payments. So we're going to be paying for the interest-only loan plus any utilities, any operating expenses such as taxes, insurance, anything that arises from the property's expense. So that's what the utilities are for. I mean, the reserves are for, to keep the project going while the refinance takes place. Now it's going to be again about 45 days before we complete the refinance. So does this make sense? Does everyone understand the approach?
Hugo, I came in a little late. Could you go over that one more time, please?
Yeah, super simple. If you guys want to do a rental, we can use our line of credit to buy the property under our entity, but we're going to need to refinance so that we sort of do a quick claim deed from our entity onto yours. But for the refinance to take place, we have to have at least 25% ownership on whatever entity we're going to do the quit claim deed. So we're going to need to amend the operating agreement to have that ownership percentage to start the refinance. Once the refinance is complete, then we do another amendment to the operating agreement for you guys to end up with 100% ownership on that new entity. And then we're going to charge 3% of the total loan amount. So from the purchase price, we're going to get 90% financed. So in this case, the purchase price is 110. So we're going to get 100,000 loan, and then we get 100% of the rehab. So the rehab is 20 plus 100, a total loan amount of 120. We're going to require you to bring 15% of the total loan amount. 10% is going to be towards the down payment, and the rest, 5%, is going to be towards the carrying cost. So it's the monthly interest payments, insurance, taxes, for the property while it gets refinanced. And the refinance will take about 45 days so that you guys take full possession of the property and keep it for a rental. Does that make sense, Mary?
Here you go.
Yes.
Just a question.
But
Yes.
who does
45
the
days.
who does
45
the
days from which day?
remodeling, rehabbing? Is that through DealVault or is that our own, or what do we do?
Uh,
We can't hear you, Hugo.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
This is sound okay? Okay, perfect. Uh, so in this case, we have 5 GCs in the group, and we have many contractors that can help us do rehabbing. So it's going to be entirely up to you. If you want to take on the rehab or if you want somebody else to do it on your behalf. So typically, let's say if you are going to keep it as a buy and hold, a GC, somebody that does the rehab for you, is going to charge about 10 to 12% of the total project amount. So let's say that Vipulsi wants somebody to do the rehab of 20,000 on his behalf, just the GC fee is going to be 10 to 15% or so. So about 2,500 that he would need to pay for somebody to manage the project, 10 to 15%. Okay. If we were doing a flip, whoever does the rehab typically gets about 30% of the net profit. So in this case, it's going to be depending on the investor. If you have your own construction resources, or we have to use deal makers resources. And again, it depends if you want to GC the project or if you want to have somebody else GC the project for you. So there are a couple of options depending on how comfortable you feel with the project. Does that make sense?
Yes, we are all new, so we would probably need someone to handle the project for us. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so we can assist with that. Absolutely. So, like for instance, we have another property with Keith, right? Keith and Annalise. They're working on Marshfield, Chicago. So they have a property on the contract, and I believe I spoke with Annalise today. I believe she's posting the earnest money today. So then, if they want to use our funding, then we're gonna do exactly the same approach. Okay. So what's the status on Marshfield, Keith?
I haven't spoken to Adelie this afternoon, but we spoke this morning, and she was supposed to have posted the
We
earnest.
can barely hear you, Keith.
And let me see if I can. Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't spoken to her since this morning, but I believe she posted the earnest money because that's what we had spoke about this morning, and we're in the process of getting everything completed and prepared to close.
Perfect. Okay, so
But she's also reviewing the JV agreement, so we can solidify that and form the entity.
right.
So
So
those are the things that we're working on right now.
let's talk about Keith's example, right? So it's going to be a rental for Keith and Annalise. So let's say if they decide to use our funding, we're going to buy the property. So it's going to be our entity. Okay, so we buy it in 3 weeks or so. We're going to use their reserves. So the purchase price is somewhere about 165, and the rehab is how much, Keith?
Well, we're waiting on the SOW, and we got an estimate for the furnace, the HVAC conversion of around 10,005. We're just waiting for the other SOW.
Okay, sounds good. But it's going to be, let's say the purchase price is 165, then plus, let's say the rehab is, let's say 30. So we're looking at 10% of 165. It's like 15,000, right? And then, so the total loan amount is going to be close to 180. So 15% of 180 is going to be 18 plus 9 is going to be like 27, close to 30,000 in reserves to do this deal. So it's going to be exactly the same way. So we buy it, and Annalyn and Keith have time to create a new entity, okay? So they are going to be ready in the next 45 days when we do the refinance, okay? So that we can do sort of like a quit claim deed from our entity over to them. But we're gonna need to have temporary ownership in their entity, 25% at least, so that we do a successful cash out refinance or a straight refinance. And then we just amend it back so they keep 100% ownership between Keith and Annalyn. Now, so they have time to create the LLC. It takes about 2 days to do it. They need to figure out how the ownership percentage between the two of them is going to be. Who is doing what, right? What is Annalyn's roles? What is Keith doing? Have you guys decided that how is going to be the ownership percentage on the entity? Because we need to talk about ownership percentage and profit split percentage, two different things. Have you guys decided on that, Keith?
No, we were in the process of doing that, but she had to run this morning because she had a 9 o'clock appointment. So we had planned to talk it's best to talk with Adelaide in the morning around 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Right.
So I'll be talking with her about that exactly, those 2 points tomorrow.
Exactly. So you guys need to decide what's going to be the ownership percentage and what's going to be, let's say, the profit split. Should you guys change your mind and decide to flip it? Okay, you have to have both exit strategies in mind. So that's for that on the rental side. So Keith and Annalyn are pursuing that. And then we have another one. Let me see, we had Bella on the line, Bella and Mark Goodman. Do we have Mark on the line? No, we don't. So they're also pursuing another partnership. So I'm super excited to see all these partnerships happening now, because that's where success is coming down the line, okay? When you strike partnerships. And that's been the challenge for the last 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, to have JVs between yourselves. And we're going to continue to do that. So in fact, I think we should meet this Friday in Oakbrook. Let's meet at what's the name of this pizza place in Oakbrook that is very yummy? Giordano's. They have a nice setup, so we can do a get together there. And again, the objective is to not only network but strike JVs, just like Keith and Annalyn, Mark and Bella, Vipulsi, and many others that are happening. Also, Stanley and I believe Joanne, right? Stanley, you guys are pursuing Sangamon, right? The 2 flat.
Yeah, I'm gonna go look at it tomorrow. Yeah, we got to talk about that. Let me ask you a question though. If once it gets under the other people's names, that's considered one under the belt. After it's said and done, if it's a rental.
Yeah, it's going to be considered for track record. So that's a good thing, right? So for track record, it could be a flip or it could be a refinance, a rental.
Okay.
So it's going to be taken into account. So right now the property, it's a 2 flats, Sangamon. So we have it right now for 170. How much is the asking price, Stanley?
I'm not sure. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet.
Let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah. Okay, I have it right here. Oh, okay, Sangamon 182. We're gonna be able to knock off from 182 to 175, Stanley. I just talked to the seller because they have another offer on the table, so they're holding off until you guys go see the property tomorrow at noon. So if you guys can call me, because they already have an offer on the table on this one, Sangamon. But
okay,
if you guys decide,
show us at 3. I'm gonna go over there at 3. She said.
Okay, so if you guys decide to take it, then it's gonna be yours. Okay. If not, it's gonna be sold. It's gonna be gone tomorrow for sure, regardless. So let me know. But there's been a lot of interest on this one because the ARV is close to 300,000, and I know you have construction background, so this would be a great project, great property. It's in a decent area. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say about the rehab and the entire project. So again, if you guys, let's say Joanne and Stanley, right, another JV, we can do exactly the same thing, whether you guys want to flip it or sell it, I mean, or keep it as a rental. So if it's a flip, then it's a lot easier, right? Because we're just in and out. We buy it, we don't need to refinance, and then we just split the profit. We keep 40 to become the guarantor and bring the money for the purchase and rehab, and you guys keep 60% to do the rehab and oversee the project, pretty much. Okay, obviously bring the reserves. So we get 40, you guys get 60. And then we're going to be working with both ground floor and Kiavi. So let me tell you the difference. Ground floor, you know, we had Andy come join us. So they claim to fund 100% of the project, but it's only 100% of up to 75% of the ARV. So let me give you an example. If the property's ARV is 200,000, they will give you up to 150,000 loan, and that comprises for the purchase and the rehab. Okay, up to 150,000. So if the purchase is 100 and the rehab is 50, then you can get $150 loan. Obviously, since you're not putting any money for the reserves, instead of paying 1 point origination, it's going to be at least 3 points, 3 or 4 points. So it's going to be, you know, sort of expensive, but you don't need to bring any reserves to the table. So we're going to evaluate the deal to determine who we funnel the deal through, either ground floor or Kiavi. Okay, but let's just plan on bringing 15% of the total loan amount. So the flip is super easy, but again, now we're going to need to start doing the rentals, because I spoke with another seller for the Dalton properties, Massimo, and then things are going to start coming through the pipe very soon, contract-wise, for the Dalton properties that we show. We showed about 8 or 9 properties in Dalton. They look really good, solid rentals. So again, if you guys are interested, that's going to be a great opportunity. So this is what I wanted to make sure that you guys fully understand. Now, let me tell you step by step what exactly we need from you. So I'm going to take Vipulsi's example. Okay, so going back to this. First of all, we need to have a contract on the property, and the contract should be either under your entity or our entity. So it's going to be entirely up to you, whatever you guys prefer, whether it's MLS or off market. If you're able to get it on the contract, fine. If not, we can get it on the contract. Obviously, we're going to provide the proof of funds, so our offer is going to be very strong. And then if it's on the contract under your entity, then you guys are going to need to make an assignment over to us, okay, so that we have full control and ownership of the contract. Example, Marshfield property is on the contract under Keith's entity, if I'm not mistaken. So he's going to need to do an assignment over to our Dealmakers entity, so that we enter that into the funding channel. Or if we get it on the contract, it's going to be under our entity. Okay. So like for instance, we today, I mean, in the last, between today and yesterday, we got 2 properties on the contract, one in Western Springs. So that is going to, again, go through Kiavi funding. It's going to be exactly the same process. That's going to be most likely a flip. And then another one in Harwood Heights. Jessica was able to make it to the inspection. It's a small 2-bedroom, 1-bath in Harwood Heights for $200,000. It's on the contract for $200,000, $2,500. Okay, so let's say $200,000. But it's going to need probably $40,000, $45,000 into it. But we're going to add a lot of value, you know, by adding a bathroom, a bedroom, and so forth. But we're going to do exactly the same strategy. Those 2 are going to be most likely, the Harwood Heights may become a rental, but it's going to be the same strategy, right? So we get it on the contract, we close fast. So even though the property may be a rental, we're gonna use a fix and flip loan because of the speed that we're able to close, okay? So that's a huge flexibility because nowadays sellers want to close in like 2-3 weeks. It's insane. They're getting used to quick closes, so we need to act accordingly, right? And use the right program for it. And the right program for a quick close is a bridge loan or fix and flip loan. So we're going to be using that, and then we just refinance into a rental. So going back to the step-by-steps, getting the property on the contract, okay? Getting the scope of work, like Kid is working on the scope of work. I'm gonna ask Vipulsi to submit the scope of work because when we send it to either Kiavi or ground floor, we're gonna need to submit a scope of work in the application. So what is it that we're gonna spend the $20,000 on? Let's say the kitchen, the bathroom, whatever, right? So we need to put that. Why? Because when you start completing milestones in the project, you can request a draw. And based on your scope of work, they're going to release the funds, right? So if you said, I'm going to spend $10,000 in the kitchen, and then you complete the kitchen and they do an inspection on it, then they're going to release $10,000, right? So that's why we're going to need to request from you scope of work. How much you're going to need in rehab and where are you going to spend the money? Okay, it doesn't need to be perfect, but remember, always have a cushion. It's better to be under budget than going over budget. So make sure that you always have a cushion for unexpected items. They will always arise, okay, when you rehab properties. So we're going to request those two things from you, the contract and also the scope of work. Oh, by the way, we have another one, right, that we're getting on the contract for you, Jessica, in Park Forest, Indiana.
Great.
I believe I signed, we made a change to the contract today, right? Because I signed, I put my initials on the contract.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's going to be the exit strategy on that one, Jessica?
Flip.
Okay. Flip. So the flip, it's it's pretty straightforward. Do you have the scope of work on that one?
No, not yet.
Okay. Is it occupied or vacant?
It's vacant.
Okay. Yeah, it's important, for the property to be vacant if we're pursuing a flip, right? Because getting tenants out, it's really challenging nowadays. Okay, so that's perfect. So again, if we have, let's say, Jessica's property in the contract, that's step one. Step number two is going to be the scope of work. So it's going to take us maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes to complete the application for funding. And then once we submit the application, they're going to send an inspector, not an appraiser, an inspector, just to take pictures, or they might do it virtually, okay? But they're going to get the ball rolling to close in like 3 weeks. So it's very aggressive. We like that time frame. So yeah, that's just going to be the new way of doing deals, right? Doing JVs. That's just the new name of the game, JVs. So in a nutshell, I want everyone to do deals and JVs. Okay, we're going to be bringing more deals. So for sure, like for instance, the one in Country Club Hills, Mark and Bella are gonna take that property. I just talked to them, to Mark, I talked to the seller. We came to an agreement, so we're gonna pursue that one as well, that property. Does this make sense? Is this clear as to the new approach for funding?
I think in concept, it's fine. I think we have to work with it a little bit to understand it a little bit more, but it's clear for now. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, again, the first property that we're gonna put through this is gonna be Vipulsis in Dalton. I already talked to Russell, and I explained to him we're gonna buy the property, but it's gonna be for Vipulsis, so he's good with it. So that should happen this week, okay? Where we fill out the application, So we will see if you can send us the scope of work as soon as you have it for the Dalton property. That'd be great. Again, it doesn't need to be perfect. Just
should I send it to the support?
Yes, please. Just estimate the rehab because we're going to need that information on the application.
And what is the draw fees for TRV for rehab work?
I believe it's like less than 200 every time you do a draw. So technically, in the past, we've done only 2 draws, in the middle and then at the end. But it's just a personal preference. And also, it depends on the rehab amount, right? If it's a big rehab, then you need to do multiple draws. But if it's, let's say, a 30, 40,000 rehab, you can do it in 2 steps, in the middle and then at the end. But it's going to be up to your reserves, right? Because you need to fund you need to fund the upfront milestone out of your pocket. Once it's completed, then the lender is going to release that money. Again, for the rehab, you want to use business credit cards to pay for material and hopefully labor. If not, you're going to need to tap into your reserves while you get the draw. So it's going to be entirely up to you. That's going to be driven by the size of the rehab and your reserves, how many draws you make. But it's about less than 200, like 179 or so. And let's assume you request the draw today. You should get the money. They send the inspector right away. It could be virtually or in person. And you get the money in your account like within 2 or 3 days. It's super fast. I mean, they move very fast.
And I have a question regarding the Massimo 7 properties in Dalton. Like,
Yes.
How are you planning to assign them to any interested parties? Like, just an example, if I say, hey, I'm interested in this property, but like you remember, there are a couple of properties that are like having a different ARV from us and from Massimo. So we have to come up with the agreement, like, okay, this is the ARV and this is we can put as a asking price. So are you still working on those?
Exactly. So we're negotiating the purchase price. So we want to have them all on the contract for the right price based on the ARV, the rehab amount, and the most we should pay for the property. So the numbers need to make sense. And then we are putting that. I'm going to share my screen on the deal makers portal. So we already put the list of all the properties. Let me go to, I believe it's this one. No, February.
Yeah, it's the last one.
Yeah,
Dalton and other properties.
Exactly. So right here we have a spreadsheet, and then so we have all the numbers right here. So we're gonna once we have the final number on the Dalton properties, where we get it on the contract for, we're gonna put it in here. But in the meantime, look at these. We added column AG right here that has the showing, the actual replay of the showing of the property. So feel free to let us know if you already know which property you're interested in. And then there are too many properties in here, so you can pick and choose. And then, as Tasha said, most of these are in really good shape. In fact, we just skipped 1 or 2 properties that, they needed more work. But the ones that we listed are in really good shape. And you'll be able to see them right here by clicking on the replay link. Okay, so let us know ahead of time if you already know which property you're interested in. And again, we can do the same strategy for funding so that you start accumulating more rentals or flips, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, so I sent an email to support regarding the hey, to show the interest for the property. So, but I haven't heard back. So, no. What else?
What was the question? What was the question for support?
Yeah. So I'm interested. Just say if I'm interested for the property, should I just send an email to support hey?
Yeah.
These
Give us
are
the
property
address. Exactly. Just give us the addresses that you're interested in. and then
Okay.
yeah, we can make it happen.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so I think the next step is to putting this in practice, and then we're going to start this week with the Pulse's property, Jessica, Joanna, and Stanley, if they decide to move forward on that 2-flat tomorrow. So I think it should be very straightforward. Are there any questions or comments? Anything that you would like to share?
Hey,
And
this is
you
the
go?
wholesale team.
Yes.
Yes, you go. Tomorrow morning at 11, I'll be doing a walkthrough at a property at 8220 South Maryland. And I may be looking for a JV partner on that one.
Okay.
And I'll be
Perfect.
discussing that with you. I'll be sending you information about that once I do the walkthrough.
Okay, so guys, we're gonna move the coffee and mastermind to Oakbrook so that it's more centric to most of you, so that you guys don't have to come all the way to Cocoa Blue in Arlington Heights. So let's meet at the how do you call this? The pizza place Giordano's in Oakbrook, and then now instead of making it in the morning, we're gonna make it in the evening, so most people can make it. Okay. So we make it sort of like a happy hour networking JV meeting so that most of you can come because it's been extremely powerful. I've seen now JVs popping left and right, okay, from you guys. And I'm super excited to see that because, again, you guys are synergizing, collaborating with each other, and bringing to the table what either one of you is missing, right? So that working as a group, as a team, makes the entire project successful. And that's what it's all about, right? Because by working with partners, you minimize the risk and maximize the return. Okay, so are there any other questions? Anything related to this funding strategy that we're implementing?
So there's two ways we could go about submitting offers. We could either go through support, or we could do it through our entity. However,
Right.
you need to be able to assume the contract. Is that
Exactly.
correct? Or
Correct.
assign it?
So
Sorry,
yes,
assign the contract.
exactly. Exactly.
Um,
So like for instance, Kit has the Marshall property under his entity. He's going to need to assign that contract over to us so that we funnel that through Kiavi funding. We have to have rights to that contract.
oh, all right. So, but when Keith writes his contract, will he submit the proof of funds that you have through Kiavi?
If he writes the offer under his entity, he cannot provide our proof of funds that we have
That's
through Kiavi, right? Because if he submits ABC LLC, he's going to need to provide funds for that ABC LLC.
correct.
So now, like for instance, I believe you're working with Joanne, right, on a Bolingbrook property?
Yes.
Exactly. So that Bolingbrook property it's a perfect example, right? So let's say she wants to pursue that property. We can submit that from the beginning through the deal maker's entity.
And it will just be like the Volpulse. Oh my God, I'm gonna butcher his name.
Vipulsive. Yeah,
Volpulse.
Vipulsive. Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
just like that example.
Exactly. So, by the way, Brian, have you talked to the listing agent? Because this is how it works, and I'm glad you brought that up. Um, we always like to negotiate the deal verbally first and have a verbal commitment or agreement before we put it in writing to formalize the deal. So we put it in writing when we formalize the deal. We don't want to go back and forth, back and forth. We just waste time when we put it in writing. Plus, when you submit an offer, it's going to be 100% wrong. All the terms are going to be wrong. Either you offer too much, too little, you put the wrong closing time frame, you put the wrong earnest money. So you always want to build rapport, try to get as much confidential information from the seller as far as asking price, closing date, and earnest money, right? So that when we make the offer, it's just for them to sign an initial and boom, we get the deal. So
Yes.
are you able to do that on that Bolingbrook property,
No, I
Brian?
did not talk to the listing agent because Joanne was gonna, talk to support.
Okay,
So I
okay.
wasn't sure. I didn't want to, just make the water dirty, so to speak. So I just
Oh,
left.
okay.
You know.
So is this, I understand it's an REO, right?
Yes, and that's the other thing. It's a REO. So
Yeah,
when you
it's a
ask
different
these
ballgame.
questions, yeah, yeah, they're just gonna say submit the offer, and that's that. Those guys don't want to be bothered with asking, answering questions or whatever. They don't. It's like the listing agents for these REOs don't want to negotiate or nothing. Just send a contract and that's it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So let me check. It's 354,
Thistle,
Bristol. Yeah,
Histle.
Bristol Drive in
Mm-hmm.
Bolingbrook.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen so that we look at the same thing. So this is the property that Joanne is interested in and she wants to pursue. So I'm going to go down to the bottom. Oh, Ryan Smith. So we know Ryan Smith. So we know how he works. So in fact, guys, let me give him a call right now because, he's one of the biggest REO brokers in town.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So let me give him a call. He's part of the group, but man, to get a hold of him, it's
Yep. I know.
very, very difficult. Oh my goodness, I have a few of his phone numbers. Let me see. Let me try his cell phone right now.
I need only a line or two. I need only a line or two with my phone. Send immediate to with my phone. Send immediate or email. Ryan.
Let me try the other one. Yeah, he didn't pick up. Yeah, because the other one, the other phone number, I believe, is the office. Sugar. Let me see. So this is AC Sale. We really need to hopefully get a hold of him. Right now it's kind of late, Brian. But if you can call him. In fact, if you can get a hold of Patrick Blackmore, he's the co-lister broker.
Mm-hmm.
That might be easier to get a hold of. And then just tell him where we need to be, right, to get the deal done that we've done. Just tell him, from Chicago DealVault, from DealVault that we've done business with Ryan in the past. So the way it works is, in the past, he just told us, right, where we need to be to make the deal happen. And typically, he likes to have dual agency, FYI. But it's okay, right?
Right.
Yeah, so taxes are high.
Yeah. Bolingbrook.
Yeah, so let me look at the condition of the house. Oh, yeah, it looks pretty nice. Whoa, it's pretty good.
It needs some work.
Yeah.
It needs some work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that floor. I don't know what's on that floor.
Yeah.
It's been sitting for a while, so I was hoping to go under asking.
Oh, I see now.
And the
Yeah,
one
absolutely.
there, yeah, it's a big space, nice house, but yeah, it's got potential.
Whoa. Yeah, no, it does need some work. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Whoa. It's a
the
pretty
fence
big
is not down.
house.
Yeah, the fence is not down in the backyard right there. You see that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Whoa. So it's
And
gonna need.
the house across the street is just like that one. It's under contract. It hasn't closed yet, but they were asking 320,000 for it.
Yeah. Based on what I saw, I think you're gonna need to put like 70,000 onto this property.
Easy. The air conditioning system is not existent. You got to put a whole new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You're looking at 75,000. So do you have an idea what the ARV of this property is by any chance?
I'm gonna say like around 320.
320
at the
times
max.
75%, 240 minus, I would say 70, 170. And he's asking for 212. Whoa, there's a big difference.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I don't think this is too risky, to tell you the truth. I mean, it's quite a lot of work, and he's asking for quite a lot.
Yes.
If the ARV is 3, you know what you told me, the numbers don't make sense, to tell you the truth.
Yep. She submitted for support to do a CMA for this property.
Oh, perfect, perfect.
This morning, so we'll see what they give us by tomorrow.
Okay, so we should have the CMA by tonight, and then let's go from there, because even before we engage with them, we just need to make sure that there's a reasonable difference spread, right? Because they won't go down like 40,000, impossible. Okay,
Maybe
so
2 months from now.
yeah, exactly. I'm glad we looked at this.
Yeah.
Hello. Hey,
Yes.
Brian. It's
Yes.
Bobby. So
Hey,
suggestion. Try to figure out for how long it has been vacant. Because the main issue with the bank owned, when there is no AC or a heating system, it's this bulking of the floors and start accumulating mold and stuff like this, just because of the difference of the temperatures. If it's been vacant for a full year, basically there's going to be some underlying issues, just because there was a winter season and a summer season without proper air conditioning. So that's something to be cautious of, just like a suggestion.
Yeah, it's funny you bring that up too, because when I entered the house, the first thing I did was open the doors, the front doors and the back doors, so that there was a cross breeze, because it's stifling in that house. There's no ventilation, no air.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the form for it to be winterized, and you know the REO properties, they you have that form that somebody's supposed to come every month to make sure that the house is winterized, you know, check in on it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it started back in, I think, January or February is when the house was first winterized. So it's been sitting there since early this year. Now, I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure how long he's only had this listing for a couple of days, but I'm not sure if this house was on the market prior to that.
Yeah, and then, yeah, actually, that's the reason I'm mentioning this, because I've had this, personal experience in the past. Property was listed as a conventional REO on the MLS, couldn't sell for a year or longer, and then it ends up at the auction. And that's what they're teaching us, like agents. Go there and figure out for how long it's been vacant, just before we put it on the market, and that's how it ends up at the auction. Because if it was vacant for longer than 12 months, the bank itself is telling us, hey, we cannot list it as a normal REO listing on the MLS. It's not gonna go. It's so sometimes that's one of the issues.
With that being said, Bobby, even if you submit an offer that's below asking, will the bank consider it or no?
Oh, they will, as an agent, every agent is, even if it's an REO, you're supposed to present the offer to the bank. Whether they will accept it or no, it's completely up to them, but it doesn't hurt submitting an offer below asking.
Gotcha.
Right. The thing is that Ryan is going to know what the reserve is. Bryant is going to know what the bank is going to pay.
Yeah.
So,
usually you have like a frame, like a range. They're not going to spit like an exact number. They have a range, and usually if it doesn't go through the first time, the first offer, but it doesn't mean that you have to get discouraged, because after 30 days, they're going to reevaluate and it can go on the second time.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, that's what I was asking. Okay.
yeah.
So I just did a power search in Chicago DealVault for that property, just to get some background from it. So it went to the auction on January 5th, 2022, so this year. And it went back to the bank for $233,000. The outstanding balance was $380, believe it or not.
Jeez.
So yeah, the bank took it back for 233. So that is why now Ryan is asking for 212. So I don't think they're gonna go too much
Yeah.
lower because the bank has lost a lot of money. Eventually they'll let it go, but I'm just curious to know what DealVault is gonna come. I mean, support. We should have that CMA very soon.
Oh, that's
Um, uh,
hey Hugo, is there an app for the phone for the DealVault?
Unfortunately, it's not mobile friendly.
Oh, okay.
Whoa, it's amazing. My daughters are wearing matching shirts. That's beautiful, Sophia. So exciting. Okay, so yeah, it's not mobile friendly. But
Wait, am I on camera?
yeah, check.
Oh, hi guys.
Hey, hello.
Sophia must.
Hello.
Look, Sophia, come. Look, I said now.
Yeah, we have full house. My nephew from Italy is in town, so 4 kids plus my nephew, 5 children. It's wild.
Guys,
Yeah.
we.
You see, guys, they're wearing the matching Isabella shirt from Encanto.
So pretty.
Bye-bye. So yeah, let's find out what support comes back with, and then let's go from there, Brian.
Thanks, Hugo.
Okay, no problem. Okay, guys, so let's come back to this funding. Again, let's quickly recap. Let me close the door again. Okay, so we'll use our line of credit to buy the property, and then we refinance under your entity so that you guys keep the property. We're gonna start charging 3% to do that of the total loan amount. So that's what Vipulsi is gonna be the first property that we're gonna pursue doing this approach for a rental. We have Jessica as well and a couple of more JVs that may go through this pipeline. Okay, so we're gonna need executed contract and a scope of work, and that's it. And then we'll just send that through the lender for funding, and we should close in like 3 weeks or so. Either you get it on the contract and you do an assignment over to us, or we get it on the contract. It's entirely up to you, whichever makes sense. Okay, so hey, Natalie, did you get anywhere with those properties off market that you were working on?
Are you referring to those 6 properties?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he said that he was gonna get back with me because I think he found out some new information regarding some capital gain taxes, and he just want to make sure that that exit would be properly okay for him.
Tell
But
him that he may need to do a 1031 exchange so he doesn't pay taxes on the capital gains.
Right. Yeah, he's looking into that as well.
Yes, that's an option.
Yeah, I have a question. Right. I have a, but with the 1031 exchange, you have to get a property within 90 days of purchasing one?
You have to find the property in 180, no, in 3 months. That's 90 days exactly, and then close on it within the next 6 months.
Okay. But I had a question, Hugo. I don't know if you touched on this before with the loan. The 3% is that that you charge for the rental. Is that up front? And also the contractor fee, if we use your contractor, is that, I don't know if somebody else had asked that question because I kept getting disconnected. Is that their percentage on top of the repairs, or is it is that percentage with the repairs, or and when is that?
So the 3% will kick in when we do the refinance, and we can add it as let's say as a consulting fee. So we do that, and then if we do a cash out refinance, it could be factored into the loan. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how we can do it. So it's not upfront, it's when we do the refinance. And then if for the rehab, then whoever's going to manage the rehab is going to charge anywhere between 10 to 15% of the total project amount to do that. When we have a couple of GCs in the group, or we have contractors, if you're going to GC the project yourself, so it's going to be entirely up to you, but that fee gets paid just like contractors get paid on a weekly basis, so they're going to charge a percentage throughout the entire project. So they get paid, let's say, every Friday, along with contractors. So they split, let's say the rehab is going to be 40,000, so their fee is going to be 4,000, for instance, and the project is going to last 8 weeks. So that means that they're going to charge 500 a week just to manage the project. Yeah, so they get paid as a regular contractor.
Okay, you know what? I just wasn't clear. I was thinking, did he mention 10% off the loan amount, or is it the
No,
rehab?
10% of the rehab. 10% of the rehab. If the rehab is 40, they may charge, let's say, 4,000 in 8 weeks. So that's about 500 a week to manage the project.
And does the criteria, let's say if I have a property, is there a certain criteria you are looking for, the normal, like what, 75%?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The numbers need to make sense. The key, I'm glad you mentioned that, you've got to have 75% equity in the back, on the back end. Otherwise, you know, when you do the refinance, we want to make sure that you don't have to bring any money out of pocket. It should be the other way around, that you always end up with at least 25% equity on the back end, so that you're able to successfully refinance without having to bring money out of pocket.
So is it good to get an evaluation from you all as far as what we potentially will get the property under contract for first?
Absolutely, yeah. We always vet the deals. Yeah, absolutely. We vet the deals. Yeah, and then let's say we struggle coming up with an ARV, we're going to reach out to Nick Andrews, our deal maker appraiser. He can help us because there are certain properties that have, you know, that we can't find comps because of the, let's say, the size, the layout, you know, the structure. So we reach out to an appraiser to help us.
Okay. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay, guys, so looking forward to doing many more deals with you. And then again, I look forward to seeing you this Friday. Again, we're going to do the networking event in the evening around 5, 6 o'clock on a Friday in Oak Brook. I'm thinking Giordano's. Is anyone interested? Let's say Giordano's, or do you guys have any other recommendations? But we're going to push it towards Oak Brook so that it's the middle for most people. In the evening, is that better for you guys? Let's say 5, 6 o'clock? 6 o'clock or so?
Yes.
In Oak Brook? Is that better for you guys?
Yes, it is.
Better. That's
Okay,
better.
so let's do it. Let's have some drinks, network, and make some deals happen.
And I'll be there. And I'll be there.
Hugo, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, we will see.
So earlier you mentioned we can do refinance after 45 days. So when does the 45 days start? Like after we are done with the rehab, or after 90 days after we have the first loan?
So it's going to be on the lenders. Some lenders may require a 3-month seasoning period. So from the time you purchase the property till the time you refinance, you need to have owned the property for at least 3 months. So let's assume that the rehab is finished in 6 weeks. We can technically start the refinance right away, because the refinance is going to take like 6 weeks. So by the time you complete the refinance, it's going to have the seasoning period of 3 months.
Okay, so yeah, so we can basically start the rehab process, just like we cannot complete the process, but we can start ahead of time.
Exactly. So we should start the refinance after week 6. Whether
Okay.
you complete the rehab or not, we can start the refinance so that we're done with it, or refinance by the time you complete the project. But it's going to depend on each project, right? If the rehab is extensive, light, so we just play by the scope of work.
So did you receive a new contract from WHOLESALE regarding the Dalton?
Yeah, so we should get that this week. I'm gonna touch base with him tomorrow because we have two entities that we can use to buy that property. So we're just trying to decide with the lender which one is gonna make the most sense. So yeah, but we'll get it done for sure this week and close in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, and another thing that as we mentioned, like the market is changing, and now we are doing deal based on the 70% of the ARV.
Yeah.
Is this something we can do with the Muslim models? Can we ask them like, hey, this is something happening, and can we put that offer based on 70%? Just a thought.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a good idea. So when we started the analysis on that property, yeah, I'm sharing the screen 75%. Let me see. Yeah, 75% column H. So we're using 75%. I have it right here, 75. Right here, column H. So yeah, but now, with the markets adjusting, we have to be somewhere between 70 and 75. But again, if it's a rental, we're going to be good even at 75 because rental is a long-term investment. If it's a flip, definitely we cannot go beyond 75 and we should be pushing towards 70% on a flip. But if it's a rental, 75 is perfect. Because on a rental, technically you can go up to 80% of ARV minus the rehab to come up with your max allowable offer.
Yeah, that's right. Just like give additional cushion. It's just like we have the options because of the market. It's just like playing the card and see what they react.
Exactly. Sounds good. So yeah, you'll be hearing from me once I'll touch base with Russell, get that executed, and then right away get it in the underwriting with Kiavi or ground floor. Most likely Kiavi. Sounds great, guys. So I look forward to seeing you on Friday and start doing many more JVs. Okay, so come to these events because I'm seeing, again, many more JVs popping up between you guys, and I'm super excited to see that happen because then the result is that you guys are starting to do more deals. And that's what we're all about, right? We're deal-driven, action-driven. So thank you guys for joining tonight, and I'll see you all on Friday.
Hey, Hugo?
Yes.
Yeah. I have a quick question. With that 1031 exchange, if he don't find a property, and can you get an extension, or are you responsible for that capital gain if you don't meet that deadline?
That's a great question about the extension. I can refer you to a 1031 expert. I have preferred partners. Let me see. 1031 exchange. Send an email to support.
Yeah.
And we'll send you the contact person for the 1031 exchange.
Okay, sounds good. Okay,
Perfect.
I'll see you on Friday.
See you Friday, guys.
Hugo, I have a question.
Yes, Mary.
When you purchase the property for us, do you have to do the application then with the finance company, or do we still have to have it?
No, we do it. We do everything. So that we close fast, we get the best terms, we get the best benefits.
Okay,
and we just use your entity on the back end.
All right, thanks.
Awesome. Okay, guys, I see you all Friday. Thank you for joining tonight.
Hugo.
Yes.
Hugo, this is Jessica. Can you call me after this?
Yeah, of course, Jessica. I'll call you right now.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, guys. See you Friday.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.